Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/PettyRevenge. In today's episode, you took a week from me? I'll take a month from you. My ex lied about his identity, so I printed his real one on a movie poster. Neighbor and his friends kept stealing my packages, so I got them arrested and evicted. Update: neighbor and his friends kept stealing my packages, so I got them arrested and evicted. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. You took a week from me? I'll take a month from you. There is a type of customer who asks a million questions but never makes a purchase. If you're selling something, especially your own handmade products, you'll have to get used to it. Regardless, it's important to learn to respect them. These are the people who teach you how to engage in productive dialogue. But everything should be done in moderation. I came across one such customer who contacted me and immediately said, "I have my company's anniversary coming up, and I want to order gifts for my employees from you. 30 engraved knives." For someone like me, who's struggling financially, this order was a godsend. I was thrilled and immediately said I was ready to discuss everything, promising to make the best quality and give him the biggest discount I could. He said, okay, gave me his phone number, and asked me to call when he's available. Due to the time difference, it meant getting up at 5 in the morning for me. But fine, I woke up early and called. He greeted me with good morning. He was aware it was 5 in the morning for me, and started asking me a million questions. He asked about the steel grades I work with, the existing steel grades, and even my predictions about future steel. He asked about Damascus steel, discussed Damascus, the city, the history of Syria, and the history of the art of weaponry. And now it was not 5 a.m., but 9. That's when he ended the conversation. We hadn't discussed anything regarding his order. The next day, I called him again, and the same thing happened. And the day after. I started losing my temper, but I really needed this order. On the 5th day, I started the conversation immediately with a request to discuss his order because I had very little personal time. I had 2 jobs and a family. Do you know what he replied? Sorry. We discussed it with the team, and we decided to purchase gift baskets instead. Knives are not for everyone after all. Then what were we discussing for these 5 days? Why did all this happen? Well, you're passionate about knives, and I'm passionate about them too. A good conversation is a rare pleasure. Do you understand that I spent the whole week on you? I hardly slept to be awake for our conversation. Why did you do this? Hey, you're a big boy. Why are you whining? Learn how to work with clients. Maybe I'll buy something from you later. At that point, I hung up and blocked him. But this story didn't leave me. The person took advantage of my vulnerability and simply played with me. I thought for a long time about how to get back at him. Until I realized, why not let him taste his own medicine? I contacted my friends in the US and explained the situation to them. After a week, they started writing to his company with requests for placing large orders. Of course, they couldn't spend 5 hours on the phone, but they didn't need to. They simply started sending them technical specifications with endless revisions. The number of revisions kept growing, and the company spent more and more time on approvals. Budgets were inflated, and my friends agreed to any additional expenses, which would never actually happen. And somewhere within a month of this circus, they unanimously decided to stop working further, saying, "Thank you, but we're no longer interested." The funniest part was when one of them received a call from my conversation partner and he was practically yelling at him, wondering why the hell my friend wasted so much of his time. To which he received the response, "Why do you take it so personally? It's business. You couldn't convince me of the benefits of working with you. Don't call me again. Goodbye." Smiley face in the end. With some ingenuity on your side, even as a small person, you can get a little bit of justice. They should have said, well, you're passionate about business, and I'm passionate about it too. A good conversation is a rare pleasure. Now, I did not want to make it obvious why it happened. Knowing that I took my petty revenge is enough. Also, this way he may kinda think about his own actions. But if it was an obvious payback, it would be just a slap for a slap, with no extra meaning. I would have gone with, hey, you're a big boy. Why are you whining? Learn how to work with clients. Maybe I'll buy something from you later. Karma works when you make it work. Smiley face. This is one of the most satisfying stories I've read on this board. Great job. Karma's like a dance partner, just make sure you lead it to the beat. This hits home, girl. I was at a party and a friend of our friends found out I was carving bowls and other wooden things. It was also building up to my busiest craft show season and there was just not a lot of time to make a bunch of new products, but I fitted in for them. They wanted 5 bowls, painted, milk paint. I made them dried, finished, etc. Send a text with the pictures and said I have the 5 bowls done. They say, that's nice, I like that blue. I'll tell our mutual friend and maybe she will get it for me for Christmas, grrrrrf. So anytime someone asks for custom or special order items, get half down, non-refundable. You have a way worse case than mine. I would never ever start a custom piece without a full payment first. But I do that exactly because AHD multiple such request from friend of friends. He should have said that they decided to go with gift baskets instead. No. Knives. Damascus knives. Everyone needs one for the kitchen, if nothing else. Your friend should have told him, sorry, we decided to buy gift baskets instead. I would have hit him with the you're a big boy, why are you whining? Learn how to work with clients. My ex lied about his identity, so I printed his real one on a movie poster. I'm a young filmmaker who, like many of my kind, is incredibly proud of their college film projects. I'm especially and shamelessly fond of my thesis film. The execution was on point thanks to the many talented people working on the project, including my ex-boyfriend's band, which gave me music for the film. Let's call my ex John Mancini. John told me he was from Italy, and it's important to note that John spoke often about being Italian, telling stories, like the one about his traumatic birth and baptism in Tuscany, that place him there for the first few years of his life. The relationship was actually quite abusive in many forms, but I was very in love with him and quite proud to put his band's name in the credits on our original poster, music by his band. John asked that I use his stage name Robert Mancini in the credits on IMDb. I didn't find this odd, as having a screen name is common, and he had done music for another film I found on IMDb and asked to be credited in the same way. Shortly after the film premiered, and 1 month after I signed a year lease on a 2-bedroom apartment for us, he broke up with me. Though it was the safest outcome for me, I was heartbroken, to say the least. Here I was, having to process us sharing a full cast and crew page on IMDb, on top of everything I went through in the relationship while missing him. Remembering he scored another film, I decided to Google his credits using his screen name, Robert Mancini. My top hit is a mugshot from several years ago. It's undeniably him, with his birth name, Robert Garcia, not John Mancini, his birth country, Mexico, not Italy, a list of aliases, none of which are the name he gave me, we were going to live together, and the name and relationship with his contact on file, a woman we'll call Jill Bates, a name I recognized from an Instagram account that had been watching my stories throughout my and my ex's relationship. I was so shocked, even more heartbroken, and full of rage. Rayahage. But what could I do? I was at a loss and stayed that way for another few months. After a while, I was still heartbroken and confused, but starting to get some festival buzz for the film, which meant redesigning the film's original poster to showcase our new official selection laurels. I was excited to distract myself with something creative and started right away, updating the original poster as well as putting together new poster designs, which required some rearrangement of the credits layout at the bottom of the poster. There I see my ex's band in bold print, capitalized, subtle but apparent and clear. I decided to update his credit too. Guess whose birth name has now been printed in the paper and digital programs of 10 international film festivals? Robert fucking Garcia's. She named names. Subtle and well done. But did she start talking about his love life while a squirrel was on the loose? What's the name of the movie? Is there a trailer on YouTube? Sounds like he was a sociopath or a malignant narcissist. Glad you got revenge and put him in your rearview mirror. Well, it's your film and you want to make sure everything is accurate. I love your petty revenge. Make sure to Photoshop that mugshot to use in future promotions of your film. This is a beautiful story. Well played. OP hero is a serious word, but I think it is fitting. May there be many young women who look up to you as an admirable role model. Neighbor and his friends kept stealing my packages, so I got them arrested and evicted. I had a problem neighbor for so many years. He'd terrorized the area. He was a drug addict and dealer, which is his business, but don't make it my issue. Thus we always had unsavory people popping up, breaking into houses/cars, stealing packages, etc. I know it's to do with him because he had previously admitted that it was his friends doing it, and I've seen CCTV from other neighbors showing his friends damaging cars, etc. He's stolen bank cards that came in the mail, makes the most obnoxious amount of noise that wakes me up, and his friends/fiends almost always ring my bell in the dead of night, around 2/3 a.m. I've shouted at them so many times and have argued with him too. My neighbor has also been in prison multiple times for various things, including very serious crimes, so he would do well to keep his head low as a free man, you'd think. We live in an house converted into apartments, where there are 4 apartments and a main area downstairs to walk through/where mail goes. He's always leaves the main door open, which I'd ask him not to, so his friends can come and go. Sometimes they'd kick the door down and trash the area. Whenever I'd get a package and I wasn't home, the shitty couriers would leave the package unattended in the front garden or the main area outside my door, despite me instructing them not to. My package would be stolen by my neighbor/his friends in seconds. This went on for years, and when confronted, he'd deny it, but I knew it was him. Other 2 apartments are old people who I am friendly with who also dislike him. The issue is I never had any proof. I once called the police after he wrote a note to me apologizing for his friend stealing my package, but that went nowhere. This time I wasn't going to let my over £250 worth of stolen packages go amiss. I put up a camera in the main area. I saved the boxes from some other packages and placed an apple and some plastic bags in there for weight, set them outside, and within 5 minutes they were stolen by his friend who hadn't seen the camera. Gotcha. I called the police, who commended me on my setup skills, and they came over, but by the time they did, the guy had left the building, with packed bags that were definitely filled with drugs to sell. They told me they'd look out for him. A few weeks after, I get a call from the police about it. I also tell them I'm absolutely certain he sells Class A drugs and has been terrorizing the area. They tell me they'd pay me a visit. 5 days go by, and at 7 a.m. I get a call from the same officer asking me to open the door quickly and quietly. I do, and she tells me to go inside, but not before I see about 15 plainclothed officers hiding behind a wall. I look through the peephole and they all storm inside, boot down his door and arrest everyone inside. It was basically a crack house, as well as seize boxes of drugs. This was all caught on the camera I bought, so I sent the footage to the landlord. The police also gets in touch with the landlord, and thus my neighbor is evicted on top of it. This was a month ago. None of his mail has been picked up, and I'm getting a lot of joy out of this. Moral of the story? Keep your hands to yourself. Some people are just dumb. We have a guy in my street who sells drugs, but he refuses to touch things like meth or heroin, etc. He deals weed, MDMA, and small amounts of coke, I believe. But he is adamant on not disturbing the rest of the street. We've heard him telling off customers for blocking driveways and so on, and outside of his work he does a lot of good neighbor shit. Like in winter, he'll shovel snow for his neighbors, he'll take in parcels and come around to drop them off once he notices people have returned home. He likes working on his car, and I know he's helped out 2 older residents in the street with some engine work for free to save them a trip to a garage. It's like, we know he's doing illegal stuff, but he's a decent neighbor and the street pretty much has an attitude of not reporting him when he isn't bothering them yak now? And it's working cause the guy's been there for like 10 plus years lol. None of his mail has been picked up? Quick, steal it. People shouldn't have to live in a state of anxiousness just because they have a shit neighbor. Sorry this happened to you. I relished your revenge. This is not revenge, this is justice. This raises a very good piece of advice I read on another post. Don't do something illegal while you're doing something illegal. If you want to get away with selling drugs, maybe avoid shitting on everyone and everything around you. You're my hero, OP. For your own sake, I would move. You don't know when he will get out and who he suspects of getting him caught. He or an associate will likely pay you a visit when you don't expect it. True, but he's been to prison on similar offenses. He could also assume the police were just watching him. I'm also very stubborn and have lived here for 19 years. The rental crisis in the UK is abysmal, and I won't let a low-down dirty man move me out of my place. Update: neighbor and his friends kept stealing my packages, so I got them arrested and evicted. I previously posted about my neighbor who kept stealing my packages, so I set him up. Well, turns out he currently has cancer and has between 2 weeks to 3 months to live. Our housing officer came over to tell us, quite jovially, that just as he had a court date set to evict him officially, he received the news that he is dying. Apparently it all happened pretty fast. He was undiagnosed while living here. My guess is that the copious amounts of hard drugs took a toll on his body. So that's the end of that. I do feel for his family. But other than that, ETA, I'm not saying the drugs caused the cancer. I'm saying that his drug use weakened his body to a point where the cancer could move aggressively and quickly. Cancer doesn't automatically make you a saint. My Phil was an asshole his whole life. He spent 10 years dying. Then when he found out he had cancer and was given 3 weeks to live, he expected sympathy. He was told to tie up loose ends instead. Off to package thief heaven. AKA and earn if he's lucky. He's also killed someone lol. No heaven for you. Getting evicted from life as well. That's awesomely dark. Keep up the good work. You don't get a pass for dying. I can't stand when people say nice things about a scumbag just because they died. Right? Don't speak ill of the dead just means don't make up shit they can't defend against. It doesn't erase any shitty things they genuinely did. I had to distance myself from a friend whose abusive father ate all their funds, disappeared regularly on drinking binges, cheated on his wife, turned his other kid into an addict, etc., became a saint after he died. After all the support they looked for during many issues, suddenly not an ill word could be spoken, and he left a wake of problems behind. I could deal with them ultimately loving their father, but they went full on guilt trip and sainthood. That is probably just a story he made up for sympathy purposes. Just cancel that lawyer and court date. I'll be dead by then. Then skips town and starts over somewhere else. My favorite is when someone dies and they're suddenly a saint. I read a news story about a 17-year-old kid who got run over by a car and was killed. The article kept referring to him as a former altar boy, which was true, when he was 12, but he was also a thug who liked to beat up girls and intimidate/terrorize his elderly neighbors. Any boy growing up in a Catholic family has to serve as an altar boy at least once as a requirement for their confirmation. It's hardly a testament of faith/virtue. My brother did it as the absolute bare minimum to get through his confirmation, as required by our parents, and then immediately said he was done with religion and stopped attending church. I was so jealous. I had to participate in skits teaching the younger kids religious lessons for mine. I mean, it's fully deserved for worthless human being. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.